This podcast is a proud member of the Fan Hub 100. Football without fans is nothing, so we've partnered with Fan Hub to put fans first. Search Fan Hub app to play your part in the journey.
Welcome back to another Mackem in the Middle podcast and another reaction episode. Sunderland were back on Sky Sports last night, facing a Portsmouth side that they hadn't beaten away from home in over 20 years, I believe, until goals from Charlie Wyke and Jordan Jones secured a 2-0 win for Sunderland. And Jack and John are with me to talk about the game. If I ringed with that, Jack and Jill. Both feeling good a day after a win like that?
Yeah, doing really well, yeah. Amazing
Absolutely,
what result does.
Yeah.
Ideal situation to be in, isn't it?
100%.
Obviously, 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Territory.
Exactly. Probably the best position we've actually been in League One, I think. In terms of the way we're playing as well, obviously, if you go back to Jack Ross, I think we had 3 games in hand on level points or something. I suppose that's the best situation we're in, but the way we're playing now, I think the chance we have of going up is a lot better. But 4 or 5 weeks ago, I never thought I'd say this given the position, but we're now 2 points from automatics, 5 from top with 2 games in hand over Hull. There's the 3 teams above us we still have to play. And for the first time this season, John, it really is in our hands, and it's a good time for it to be as well, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely in our hands. I think the difference to now is in years gone by is we look like we might actually take the opportunity. We're looking like that team. I don't think anyone wants to play us at the moment, whether that's the bottom team or anyone who's around the top. We're getting the jobs done. Things are going really well. Obviously, all the off the pitch stuff seems to have been sorted. But it's nice to see that we're not really focusing on that sort of thing, because on the pitch we're doing the business, and we're looking good. Not, last night's performance we'll get onto was quality, but in recent weeks it hasn't always been the full 90. But we're still getting the results and still getting the jobs done. So yeah, it's all looking good.
It is. And as I said, Jack, we've never beaten Portsmouth away from home for a long time. Burton, Fleetwood, probably a couple of other teams that we've never really been able to beat. Under Lee Johnson, we've beat them all. Don't think we've been beaten by a team around us under Lee Johnson, although I could be wrong on that. But things are looking a lot better now. We're beating teams that we wouldn't usually beat. And as long as we keep the consistency up, it's early to say it, but we could be playing championship football next season, really.
Yeah, it's kind of surreal in a way when you look at where we were, like you said, a month ago. I think a month ago we weren't even in the playoffs, and we were thinking, oh God, will we even get playoffs? And now it looks like, you'd sort of, I think you'd be disappointed a bit from this point of view if, say, we didn't really at least challenge and push right till the end for an automatic promotion position. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think I'll be, a bit disappointed if we don't get top 2. To be honest, the way we've been playing. So when you look at it like that, it's quite surreal, and I think you've got to give a lot of credit to certainly the players and certainly Lee Johnson, because he did have a bit of a nightmare at a month ago when we lost at Shrewsbury, was it?
Yeah.
He had a bit of a nightmare with his selection, and since he's made some bold moves where there's been a lot of people on social media saying, "Oh, wouldn't have done that," and he's had a lot of injuries to deal with as well. But
a lot.
he hasn't done a Jurgen Klopp, not to compare the two because there's no comparison. But he's not been crying at press conferences saying, "Oh, well, we've done this, we've done that." He's got on with it. He's picked his best 11 available to him, clearly by what the results have been. And, we've just got on with it. And I think now you're looking at it and you're looking at which we'll probably get onto this more, but you're looking at the way our two centre backs have been playing. It's like, does Bailey Wright even get back in when he's fit? Like it's looking at that sort of thing, and it's gonna be tough. There's a lot of competition that we didn't think we'd have for those sort of places.
And by comparing Jurgen Klopp and Lee Johnson, I hope that was in favour of Lee Johnson.
Oh,
of course, comparing Johnson to Klopp.
Absolutely, never in doubt.
Looking at the team and started the game for Sunderland, obviously Lee Burge started in goal, Max Power, Deon Sanderson, Luke O'Nien and Callum Fadzine as a back four, Jordan Jones, Josh Scowen, Carl Winchester, Aidan McGeady, Aiden O'Brien and Charlie Wyke. And Jack Barton, possibly Denver Hume. Do you think that's our best 11 now?
Yeah, I'd say I think that proves in the way we've played the last few games. I think, obviously, Hume is a big miss because Hume is... It's not really saying much with the competition that's there for his players, but he's by far our best left back by a long way. But and the way he fits into the team as well, the way he plays, the way he links up with Wyke with his balls into the box, etc. And down the left-hand side with McGeady. But yeah, I'd say that's definitely our strongest side.
Yeah. And Jack mentioned it there 6 months ago, Bailey Wright was labelled as one of our best players, and rightfully so. But does Bailey Wright get back in this team? Possibly, if we move to a three-man defence?
I think Johnson's using it sort of game by game. So I think you've got to weigh it up. But with what we've been playing, and it's working so well. It's a tricky one. I think Johnson does go game by game. Remember, there was a time when Luca and I played centre back, played really well, and then obviously we put him in against Portsmouth. Obviously, this was under a different manager, and then it sort of went wrong, and it was he's not a centre back. Do you know what I mean? So it was a bit of hindsight. We're talking about a team that's just keeping clean sheets and going well, and I think it's probably a good thing with the squad. Like, say if the games are coming thick and fast every single week, and these players aren't going to be able to keep it up. But say for instance, Luca O'Nien obviously plays last night. Plays in the cup final. Then in fairness, if he's not because he wants to play every single game, but you could probably give one of them the night off against Accrington and keep them fresh for maybe Peterborough coming up, or for games coming up. So we have. It's using the squad, which to its full, which we haven't always done. But under Johnson, we seem to be doing it. Like, you look at our players last night. Obviously, who were the best? Jordan Jones has struggled to get in the side for the first few weeks. Phil Parkinson wasn't a fan of Sanderson really. He had to work to get in the team, and after last night, you'd say they're the two you absolutely start. Obviously, McGeady's another one. So do you know what I mean? We're utilising the whole squad, and I think it is a game by game. See how they're going. I don't think you'd start Flanagan. I think he's just if you need to shore it up at the back, he's one of those substitutes. But the squad we've got is very, very strong, and like Jack said, we'll be very disappointed if we don't go up automatically.
Yeah. Just on the squad there, obviously, you mentioned how strong it is. Do you think the squad we've got now is stronger than the squad we had in our first season in League One? John,
yeah, I think it is. And what I'd say by that is, I think it's more of a League One squad of obviously getting the jobs done. The players we did have just didn't, they were on good money. And obviously, maybe I'm being harsh here, but almost slightly doing us a favour, by sort of being here. Your likes of Oviedo, Catamol's okay. What more? Those types of players are on absolutely, top money, but not really putting us, to the top of that league. And we did cry out a little bit, I think, in the first and second season about. Players for this league. You'd look at, a player like Charlie Wyke, who hadn't really scored. He comes into the team, which was, he's a League One striker. Let's just get him in, because there wasn't much scouting going on. Obviously now that's turned out to be turned out to be an absolute masterstroke. You know, he's banging sort of 100 goals in a week. So with I'll say the squad we've got now, is a lot more flexibility and a lot more for this level, which has taken us 3 years to do. But yeah, for this level, I think it is the best. I'd say the best squad, and he's getting the best out of it as well. You never know what Johnson would have done with the squad he had at the first season. Obviously, Jack Ross was still a bit of a rookie, so he's getting the best out of these guys. So yeah, long may it continue.
Yeah. Well, the game got underway, and one of the things that I mentioned in the preview that I did with Portsmouth was Sunderland's tendency to get an early goal, and that's exactly what we did, albeit a little bit later than we are becoming used to. But McGee did as well on the left. He's cut inside. You know, he's fired the ball towards goal, but McGillivray was able to push the ball past the post, and it was very similar to Jones's goal against Crewe, albeit Jones's goal went in. McGee didn't. But Jordan Jones took Lewis open corner. He's whipped it into the middle. Charlie White's on the end of it, and everything he touches this season, John, seems to result in the goal.
Yeah, absolutely everything. I think with last night the goal, I don't think we started well, like going forward. But one bit of magic from McGeady to take that shot, and obviously it's a series of plays from there that we've obviously worked on. Because obviously McGeady has the shot out of absolutely nowhere, and it's on target. Keeper has to parry it. We've then got a guy. We've been crying out all season for decent corners. We've got a guy, Jordan Jones, who goes over, absolutely pinpoint ball. And if you actually watch, it was the same of the weekend. If you watch 09, he actually takes White's man off him and creates. Luke 09 just stands there, so it's obviously something they've been working on. And it's good to see it coming in. And Charlie White, he just looks like a player, full of confidence, full of form, and you know what I mean. You can even look just in his performance, just his running. And again, absolute bullet header. I'd say 60% of his goals are on his head. And the players we've got in the team now, McGeady and Jones. Jones's crossing all night was unreal. And if we'd have had a few more people in the box, if we'd have had a few more people in the box, like if we utilised Aiden O'Brien a little bit more, with those crosses, then I think again that's another asset. But yeah, Luke 09 takes the space for Wyke, and Wyke is on fire at the minute, and let's hope he continues that when we go on the big stage on Sunday.
Yeah, and given Portsmouth's recent form, obviously, they got hammered 4-1 off Northampton. I think they'd won one in the last 5 or 6 games, I think Sky said last night. An early goal was always going to unsettle them. And as Freddie said on the preview that we did, Portsmouth have never won a game for 2 years in which they conceded the first goal, Jack. And you could sense why as soon as they conceded that first goal. They looked knocked, they didn't look as confident on the ball, and you could tell it affected them, couldn't you?
Yeah, 100%. It was a weird game in a way because you could tell the quality that Portsmouth did have was there, but the confidence was just, they weren't thinking properly. The thought process and a lot of the decision making from the players was all over the place. They just didn't, you looked at our front three and we just oozed confidence all night. Wyke, McGeady, Jones, even O'Brien, who maybe hasn't played his best football in his last few appearances, it's still all of those four still just oozed confidence and played well, alongside each other. And then you look at the way Portsmouth's front two played in particular, and it was just weird. It was a weird contrast in a side that's clearly rock bottom confidence wise, and a side that's just that seems to just really look like they're enjoying playing the football, really. And you could see the difference between John Marquise and Charlie Wyke, I think, massively.
Yeah. And I'd be lying if I said the first half had much more to it after the goals didn't. Although, unlike other games, we still dominated the ball at times, looked composed throughout. There's a few half chances for Sunderland, nothing clear cut, but we managed to see through. Half time, 1-0 up, John, comfortable, but the one player from Portsmouth that I thought looked capable of doing something and was kind of worried every time he got on the ball was Ryan Williams. He looked a little too dangerous at times, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He did look good, to be fair, but Every cross they seemed to put into the box was not. It just wasn't of a good enough level to pick their two strikers out. Whereas you spin that on us, and we're not just being big-headed, but we're, I think, a little bit a level above that. I've always been impressed with Ronan Curtis against us. He's always seemed to tear us apart. So I was quite surprised to see him on the bench. But it was really weird tactics. Like, they wanted to play fast. They almost played like us, but poorly like us. So they tried to play the quick balls, and obviously our press was too good for them. And the midfield sort of shut them down. So when they did actually go long, we had, O'Neill and Sanderson were mopping up, with ease. And thank God that we didn't spend £1 million on Johnny Marcus, because he spent most of the game on the floor. Didn't really threaten us at all, especially against a rookie centre half and someone who's according to reports not a centre half. So do you know what I mean? I thought we dealt with them really well, and I wasn't impressed by Portsmouth at all. I thought they'd be up for it because of the sort of the derby that's been created with them, and the sort of rivalry. But I thought we just owned them in every position. Probably a little bit helped with McFadden at left back, who I thought did very well last night. Aiden McGeady did actually come back. I didn't see Scowen going over as much because I thought McGeady, obviously under instructions to come back and help, and I thought, to their credit, both of them down the left hand side were brilliant, obviously in defence and going forward. So yeah, they didn't really impress me. He was the one little spark, like you say, that Williams on the wing, but apart from that, I wasn't impressed.
Yeah. Well, the second half arrived, and in the second half, there's a few talking points, two of which were refereeing decisions that went our way potentially. But first of all, our second goal, it's exactly what we like to see, exactly what you need to do in League One. It was a high press from Jordan Jones. He's won the ball from a mistake, and in fairness to him, it was a top finish, Jack, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was like I tweeted last night. I said cool as ice was the way I'd describe it. It just, in a game where the next goal was the crucial one for the game. You look at if Portsmouth had scored an equaliser at that point, that might have given them the lift they really needed at that point, and that could have been a turning point in their season if they'd gone on to get a winner. But you look at the way we killed off that game there. The game was it was completely dead and buried when Jones scored that, and the way he just kept his composure, the clarity in his thought process to make the decision to dink the keeper after he saw him go early, and the execution of it was just it was nearly perfect. And then obviously a lot of people said about his celebration, and I'm not sure we looked too much into that. I think it's just because it was hanging off his shirt, but it was definitely interesting. He did do the Alfredo celebration for Rangers as well, which I think was a nice touch after they got not that I'm a massive Rangers fan, but it was a nice touch after his obviously parent club won the league at the weekend. So yeah, cool as ice. That's how I describe it.
Yeah. And prior to the mistake at the back, John, Williams went down under a challenge from McGeady. For me, I think it's very soft, but 9 times out of 10 they're giving us free kicks. Do you think we possibly got away with that one?
Yeah, I think slightly. If you look at maybe last 10 minutes, the fouls that White was given away, they're literally on par with what McGeady's done to their player. But League One referees, there's just no consistency, and that's the only thing that bugs me in this league. And especially going on to the other mistake, how I think Flanagan just gets a touch on that, which maybe just gets him out, and the referee's I think directly in line, so he sees the ball come off Flanagan's foot just a little bit. So I think he just about gets away with it. But I'm more annoyed at the clumsiness from Flanagan just to swing his foot, but that might just be rustiness from his injury. But he's not gonna start anytime soon, and in defence we're doing the business anyway. So yes, it's League One referees. It's just going to be inconsistencies we've got to accept, unfortunately.
Yeah. And Jack Jones mentioned it there, the other decision in the obviously now penalty box. I'm not sure who it was for Portsmouth, but they were 1-on-1 with Flanagan, who came on as a sub. Flanagan swiped at the ball. He got the slightest knock on the ball, but wiped their player out after with a follow through. And again, it's one of them. If it was anywhere else on the pitch, is it going to get given as a free kick? I'm not sure. But they wanted a penalty. They didn't get it. But do you think we've got away with that one as well slightly?
I tell you what, that one would have been interesting with a whole, is it called the fratting and the stand behind the goal? Imagine if they'd all been stood up screaming at that one. I think that would have been a interesting scenario. I think the ref might have made a different decision then if that was the case. But I think that's one of the things without fans in, without the sort of pressure on the referees, with the crowds and everything. I feel like that sort of decision is now a 50-50. Whereas with a crowd in, it might just, that 1 or 2% might just tell him, you know what, I think that's a pen. And I think, personally, we did get off with one a bit. I can see why he didn't give it, because he has won the ball. Whether or not afterwards he's absolutely took out his man is just, it's sort of, that's not really, it's not really up for debate. It's probably a foul everywhere else on the pitch, like you say. And yeah, I think we're pretty lucky with that one. Did Portsmouth deserve really a chance to get a goal back in the game with the way they played? No, of course they didn't. But, if you make a challenge like that and it gets given, I don't think we could have had many complaints.
Yeah. And John, if it was reversed, if that was Watmore on McGeady or someone, do you think it would be coming on here and talking about why have we not got a penalty for that, or do you think it was the right decision?
I'm 100% biased. I think even if someone blows on McGeady, I'm screaming for a penalty until someone shows me a replay and proves it otherwise. But yeah, it was. You can see it both ways. Do you know what I mean? It's so up and down, even to the VAR in the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? Even they can't, tell the difference sometimes. And if it's given, it's given. Sometimes they're harsh, sometimes they're clear. It is just one of them. It's just how. It's the beauty of football, the way football goes. It's everyone's interpretation. Obviously, I'd be gutted if we didn't get that penalty. On the other hand, I probably cheered it a bit like a goal when I saw the referee turn around and run away. So it's just one of those things you've got to accept. But yeah, if it went against us, I'll be fuming. But it went for us this time, and you make your own luck in this world.
Yeah, we've certainly had enough go against us this season, so I suppose you can't complain.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter anyway, because Burge would have saved it, so it's irrelevant talking really. So because he doesn't let anything past him. The only people who score past Burge is Burge. So
little diving header on the line. I remember that one. It wasn't given, and ultimately that was the last major thing in the game. It finished 2-0. Portsmouth just never really looked too threatening. Like I said, there was one time Marquise went through, and you've obviously been watching Salah in the Premier League. Make of that what you will, but we're in a great position. Some big games coming up, Jack. Not a bad time, really, is it?
No, you're completely right. I don't think I'd rather we had the fixtures coming up at any other point. I know they're in quick succession, but the momentum we've got at the moment going into these sort of games. Like last night, we had a lot of momentum going into last night. I just think it's just a great time to have these fixtures coming up, and I know it only takes sort of one mistake, one costly error, and it could cost us this run of form. But the players won't be looking like that, and certainly, as fans, we shouldn't be looking like that. I feel like it's so enjoyable watching us at the moment, the way we're playing, the confidence we're playing with, and to go into these next fixtures playing that way. Yes, I don't think I'd rather we had it at any other point in the season.
Yeah. And John, obviously, I'm just looking at the fixtures there. We've got Peterborough, Charlton, Hull and Lincoln, all in the space of about 6 games, which obviously this season is about 3 weeks apart. Do you think it's beneficial for Sunderland to play these teams one after another, or do you think it would be better to be, playing once a month kind of thing? Or do you think just the form that we're in, the momentum we have, especially if we win on Sunday as well, you get a trophy under your belt, it could really help us and push us into them games with a positive attitude?
Yeah, I think so. I think with the run we're on at the moment, obviously winning 5 and 6. If we look at the table, it's most of those games with the teams in the lower end. Normally we'd have struggled against them, but we've put a run together now. And then last night was quite a big test that we passed with flying colours, and that winning winning mentality it just breeds, more winning mentality. It's just they don't know at the moment. It's obviously they don't know how to lose. At Crewe we were 2-0 down, dead and buried. In fairness, all right, we got a draw. We could have won. Do you know what I mean? So we did the business last night. You'd like to think we go to Wembley on Sunday, and put on a good performance there. I don't think we won't do that. But then I don't care. Who and when we play. I don't fear anyone in this league. I think everyone's going to fear us, and it doesn't matter if we're playing Peterborough on Tuesday, then with Lincoln on the Saturday. I'd still be confident in this squad and the way we're playing, and the even without the fans there, the sort of the way, the forward way, the club's heading in. We're sort of a juggernaut, and that's very, very, hard to stop. There might be the odd one, odd one result, but as long as we keep that consistency and keep those points going on the board. Obviously, I remember, the season under Roy Keane. You two might be a bit young for that one, but we played everybody in quick succession. It was just we were so hard to stop. It was just relentless. We'd turn up and just do the business. That's the sort of thing you're seeing now with the club. So long may that continue, especially the business end of the season.
Yeah, and we'll move into player ratings, and there's a few interesting ones that I'll explain. But Lee Burge, don't think he touched the ball with his hands. I think he might have collected a couple of crosses, punched it out. I would normally go with a 6, but when you beat Portsmouth 2-0 comfortably, I went with a 7. Just why not? Kept clean sheet. Start with you, John.
Yeah, same. I've gone for 7. Defence protected him quite well, but I thought he was. Even though we've had dodgy keepers who come out and sort of drop them, Burge has had his fair share of that. So he was, to still come and get those crosses and be safe and waste time and stuff. I thought he was decent, and he was good on the ball. We're using him now, to ping the ball around, and he's good on the deck, to be fair, and contributed to a solid defensive unit.
Yeah, and Jack, for you?
I'll give him a 7, and it's mainly because of how good his distribution was. I thought last night was the best I've actually seen him use his feet and actually get the ball out wide to our wing players and our midfielders and our striker. When we were under pressure, I thought his clearances were amazing, and we say he didn't have much to do with his hands. I feel that was a large part of it, the way he diffused situations through his distribution. So yeah, I'll give him a 7.
Yeah. Max Power started right back, played some great balls down the channel, especially to Charlie White in the first half. Defended well, and obviously just had a good game, really. So I'll give him a 7 as well, John.
I've gone for an 8. I thought it was a superb captain's performance. I've been a little bit critical of his awareness in defence, and there was a couple of times that he snuffed out, and the Portsmouth attacks and covered for his fellow fullback and 09 and Sanderson sort of coming across. So he's done well on there. And like you say, he was very, very good on the ball, and I didn't see him lose too many balls, and he was getting, he was firing everyone up and still giving out the rollicking. So yeah, it was an 8 for me. I was very impressed.
Yeah, Jack, for you?
Yeah, I went 8 as well. It was just, I think John probably summed it up the best. Proper captain's performance. When you're looking for that sort of leadership, that sort of communication that was coming from him, it was just excellent throughout. He always looked comfortable. The way he covered our midfield and our centre backs at times was superb. And it's actually probably, these last few games, I used to complain a lot about the needless fouls he gives away. The poor passing that would lead to sort of those needless fouls and us giving away free kicks and putting pressure back on us. And last night, I didn't see any of that from him. I think it was a really good performance.
Yeah. Moving on to the centre half, Dion Sanderson up first. And I went with a 6, and there's a couple of reasons for that. First half, there was a lot of long balls from Portsmouth that they knocked on. A couple of times between Sanderson and Ryan, they didn't really deal with it. I think one of them went towards the player who knocked the ball on, didn't win it. And then whoever was backtracking, was a bit flat-footed. They got through on goal a couple of times. And a lot of the ratings that I do in the match report are based on stats from the game as well. So Dion Sanderson, for example, I think he lost 7 out of the 10 headers that he had in the game, and I think he gave away the ball 16 times. So that plays a little bit of a part. So I've went with a 6, albeit a very high 6. John?
I've gone with a 7. I thought he was solid enough. Interesting to see the stats that you just said, because I thought Marquis tried to sort of stay with him and sort of bully, the youngster. But I thought, even though he didn't win every header, he's not going to, Johnny Marquis is an established player at this level, and Deion Sanderson's obviously just, starting out in his career. But I thought he read the game quite well. I probably would have gone up to an 8. Obviously, we kept a clean sheet. I probably would have gone up to an 8 if he hadn't just gave away just a couple of, just silly little fouls. Almost like an eccentric puppy that just wants to just go and do something quickly, and it's just like just sit back, take it easy. We don't need to keep giving those fouls away. So that otherwise I'd have had him up to an 8 because I thought he was decent.
Yeah, and Jack, for you?
Yeah, I went with a 7. As John said, it was interesting to hear those stats. Sorry, that you read out. Actually, it doesn't paint the best picture for his performance. Actually, when you look at those, but I thought, I thought it was solid. I thought he did have his moments where he looked a bit, shaky, where he maybe wasn't winning his duels as you'd expect him to, and as he has done in the previous games. But I thought he also did defend well. I mean, his dribbling to get himself out of trouble at times. He makes it look like he's got a lot more time on the ball than what he has. The way he can play out from the back, he always looks like he's got so much time, and he never looks in any danger. It's fantastic. So yeah, a 7 from me.
Very good. Luke won 9. Started alongside him, and remember, an 8 out of 10 for him. Won the majority of his aerial battles. He won 9 out of 10 throughout the game. Defended well. And the one thing that I like about Unai playing as a centre half is he's a natural midfielder. So when he's on the ball, he can pick that pass, he can play that long ball. He's very composed on it. And I think that's one thing that Sunderland should use more in this league, because there's a lot of games in this division that, our back four will have the ball a lot. We will have to be composed. We will have to bring the ball out. And when you're having Max Power, who's a midfielder, Luke O'Nien, who's a midfielder, Deion Sanderson, who's a centre half, albeit very comfortable on the ball, it does help start the attacks a lot. So I've went with an 8 for him, John.
Yeah, I've actually gone with a 9. I thought he was excellent. Like you say, his distribution was class, and his defending was immense. It created the space for White's goals we said earlier, and it's nice to see a centre back. You don't see many. He actually looked both-footed. He can literally twist and turn. Anyway, there was one time where he was a bit under pressure, and he sort of pinged the ball out to Max Power on his left foot, and you wouldn't have known that he's a right-footed player. So I was just really, really impressed with his all-round display and energy. And again, he's another one. Long may it continue. Let's get him tied down to a new deal.
Yeah, Jack, for you.
Yeah, I'll give him an 8. I mean, bloke's just good at football, isn't he? Like he can play anywhere. Like I mean, we shouldn't be shocked by this now because of the amount of times he's just played a different position. And he just takes to it with ease, and it's just. If someone had told you at the start of the season, you know what, Luke O'Nien's going to be playing regularly as our first choice centre back alongside Deion Sanderson, you'd have been like, right, all right, I want what you've been drinking. But yeah, honestly, he's just, for someone who's not obviously gifted with height as well, the amount of headers he wins, it's just, it's just, he's got no right to win the amount of headers he does for his height and everything. It's just, he's just get him that contract. Just put it on the table. I won't quote any more of Rio Ferdinand because it didn't end well.
I was just thinking that.
Just stick it on the table for him and just, get it signed as soon as we can.
Let him write whatever numbers he wants.
Yeah. Not tempt too much.
Could be an interesting one to see how much he actually wants if we get promoted, but I don't think he's too much of a tricky customer, I'd imagine.
True.
Seems like a nice bloke. But Callum McFadzean made up the back four. As much as I'd like to say he's awful and shocking, he didn't really do anything wrong yesterday. I don't think anyone did anything wrong as such. I went with a 6. There was a couple of times I think he played it a little too safe. He still looks like he's carrying a parachute when he's running. He's not the quickest, but didn't really have too much defending to do, and a lot of that's probably down to the fact Marcus Harness was on the bench. Obviously, I think it could have been a different game if he started the game, but can't really fault him. So I think it was 6. John?
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I've actually gone for a 7. I thought he was solid. I thought he was very, very good going forward.
I think that might actually be a higher rating today than for the past 5 or 6 weeks combined.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I thought as opposed to weeks gone by, him just going forward, and not really making a difference, but actually sort of creating space for McGeady, and they did actually link up really well. As one time, McGeady had the ball, had the 2 defenders on toes, slipped it in, and McFadden's put a decent cross in, and Wyke, in fairness, should score. But I'm happy to hammer him, when he's awful, and he has been awful, in previous weeks. But credit where credit's due. I thought he did, he did really well yesterday, and I keep saying it, but long may that continue, until Denver Humes. But yeah, I thought him and McGeady linked up very well yesterday.
Yeah, could be interesting to see how long it is until Hume does return. Obviously, he is back running on the pitch. I don't think he's back in training yet, but hopefully not too long. But John, Jack, for you?
Yeah, weird because it's Callum McFadden, but I've given him a 7. Strange, obviously, seeing a number that high next to his name, but I thought it was really solid, and usually gives the ball away pretty much every time he gets it. Like that's usually how it goes. But yesterday, he seemed to be, he looked after the ball a lot better. He didn't seem to have a lot to do defensively. Weirdly, like
yeah.
It was a bit of a strange game for him, but what he did last night, he seemed to do well. The little he did have to do, so I can't complain at all. His concentration levels. There was a bit of a phase where I think they started to have some success towards the end of the first half, where you could tell maybe it was the concentration that was dipping at that point. But yeah, throughout the majority of the first half and pretty much the entirety of the second, I thought he played really well and he was really comfortable. So yeah, I've gone with 8-7.
Yeah. Moving on to midfield, Carl Winchester, which when I posted, a lot of people had a thing to say about it. But again, it's all based on stats from the game as well as obviously watching it. There was a few times in the first half, his touch was a bit heavy, he lost the ball, and don't really want to say this, but with League One referees, potentially he's, if it was later in the game, that challenge could have been a red card. Not saying it should have been a red card, but in the eyes of a League One referee, that could quite easily been a red card. But it wasn't. He lost the ball a few times. There was a couple of times in the first half, especially. He looked for the long ball a bit too much and just kind of punted it up the pitch. But for me, he's in there as a kind of a ball-winning midfielder. And again, a few of the stats on the game yesterday. He had 8 ground duels, of which he only won 3. He had 4 aerial duels, of which he won 1. And he gave the ball away a lot as well. I think he gave the ball away the twice most of the Sunderland team yesterday. So I went with a 6 again. It's very similar to Dion Sanderson. It's a high 6, but that is the reasoning for it, John.
Again, it's another one interesting to hear the stats on that, because I thought he was okay. Kept us ticking over. I actually went with a 7. I thought he was okay in the middle. Covered a lot of ground. Made a few decent blocks. Like you say, the little bugbear with him, is in that tackle he makes. Don't get me wrong. I think it's just a nice strong tackle that we'd all applaud. But it comes from his missed touch. It doesn't come from trying to win the ball off of somebody. So he needs to get that ball under control a little bit more and keep us ticking over. And he's another one as well. How many fouls did he give away in the first half? Just stupid ones. We don't need that.
He also gave away the most fouls in the game from a Sunderland.
I think they were all in the first half as well. I was a little bit like, oh, come on, because every time someone made a foul, we had 3 players around it, and they'd always come up, and the camera would always go to him. So I was like, it's just constantly him. Just knock those little fouls out. Play, just play simple games, simple passes. Let Scow and do the running, And to be fair, I thought it's his best game in a Sunderland shirt, but the stats are the stats.
Yeah. Jack, for you?
Yeah, I went with a 7 as well. I thought he is sort of, you know, the way he played the ball, the way he kept possession, the way that, you know, he was in tight situations and he sort of made it look like he had more time on the ball. It was a bit like Sanderson. Not that I'm trying to compare the two because that would be a weird comparison. But I thought it was solid. I thought he kept us ticking over well, and you know, like we've already said, it's interesting to hear those stats because it sort of can paint the picture a bit differently to how, you know, I thought he actually had a really solid game, and that makes it look like maybe he wasn't quite at the races. But yeah, I thought he looked comfortable, and like John said, I think it's probably his best performance for us so far. Whether that says more about the fact he's played a bit below average for us so far, or whether he was actually really good last night is another story. But yeah, I thought it was solid. 7 out of 10.
Josh Scowen obviously started alongside him, and again, I've given him a 6 out of 10. His passing wasn't particularly accurate. Again, just looking at the stats, he had a 66% pass accuracy, which, bearing in mind, he made 60 passes in the game. It's almost over half of the passes that he made were lost. He won 3 of his 11 ground duels, but the surprising one is he won 4 out of the 6 aerial duels, which is more than Winchester and Sanderson as well. So for someone who's about 4'5", that's not a bad stat. But as Scowen always does, he ran around, played the simple passes, and just kept us ticking really. So again, I'll give him a 6, John.
Yes, I've gone quite high. I thought he was. I've given him an 8. I thought he was excellent in the middle. Again, those stats will tell a little bit of a different story. But from what I saw, I thought he was. I like the way he sort of diffused situations a little bit like Ledbetter does. Just keeps it. Obviously turns. You know, if it's crowded, he'll sort of turn out with the trouble and ping the simple ball. And I thought he carried the ball really well and just almost let the game sort of go by. With sort of time wise, it just seemed like he played really really well. And again, he's another one I've been critical of and in weeks gone by. But yesterday, I thought he was very very good in the middle of midfield with Winchester. Very good.
Yeah, Jack, for you?
Yeah, I've gone slap bang in the middle. I'll give him a 7. Yeah, I think for a player who's got a lot of slack this season, and a lot of the time rightfully so, I feel like last night was a really good opportunity for him to sort of rise to the occasion and really put in a solid, a solid performance from one of our central midfielders, and I think he really did do that. Obviously, he always is going to be a bit, not necessarily wasteful on the ball, but maybe not as productive on it as, someone of his ability could be. I feel like we've came to sort of, realise that. But I feel like the simplicity of his job last night, really, keep us ticking over, winning the duels when they become available to win. He seemed to make it look simple, and I was impressed with what I saw. I went with a 7.
Yeah, looking at the other one as well, he also gave the ball away more than anybody else on the pitch.
Oh, you got the wrong stats, mate. Wrong stats.
21 times.
A different game.
21 times he lost possession.
You're going to tell us in a minute that Charlie White was dire in the
Didn't score a goal. Moving on to Jordan Jones. I went with a 3 out of 10. Thought he was awful.
Stats will tell you he was.
He didn't complete a cross all evening, did he? No,
he didn't. Nothing good. Finish was lucky as well.
Yeah.
But I went with an 8 out of 10. Every time he got the ball, he looked a threat. Got the assist for White's goal, and obviously a great finish for his goal as well, and then an even better celebration. So yeah, 8 out of 10 for me, John.
Yeah, Jones have gone for a 9. Like you say, superb finish. Probably makes it himself, which is good as well. I love that high press. He ran his man countless times, against Charlie Daniels, who 2 or 3 years ago was playing decent football in the Premier League with Bournemouth. So he's done well against him then. And his crossing was, I didn't see him put a bad cross in. Like to see the strikers' movement a little bit more. But yeah, his crossing was superb, and obviously got the assist with the corner for White's goal. So yeah, I was very impressed. And again, he's another one. Now you can't, after that goal he scored a crew, you can't you can't drop him now. He's literally on top of his game.
Yeah. Just quickly touching on crosses. I don't know if you want to hear his stat.
Yeah, go on. He completed 0 out of 5.
Well, obviously it's weird with crosses because while you can put a great ball in the box, if a player doesn't actually get on the end of it, it goes down as a bad cross. So he actually completed 2 out of 8 crosses, but I'd say 7 of them crosses were good crosses. So
Yeah, I get you.
the weird one. But Jack, for you?
Yeah, I give him a 9 as well. I just, he's a player who, when the fans are back in the ground, providing we can get him on a permanent, which I hope we do, he's someone who's really going to get the supporters out of their seats with the way he, runs, beats his man, gets across in. Especially if we've still got the big man in the middle as well. It's just, he's a player who's just, he's on his night. I know anyone's good on the night, but it just seems on his night in this league, he's just so good at what he does. And like we say, we've got a former Premier League left back playing against him there, and he just couldn't handle him. It was just, everything he seemed to do, just sort of, apart from his 6 crosses that weren't completed, of course, according to that statistic. But it was his night really, and he performed really, really well. And yeah, I've gone with a 9.
Aiden O'Brien was on the other side. Obviously had the effort saved in the first half that eventually led to the corner. It was a great effort, and as I said, it was very similar to Jordan Jones' goal against Crewe, almost identical in fairness, albeit the keeper actually dove for this one, which was a shame. But put some good balls into the box, but didn't get an assist, which is unusual, like McGeady. But I went with a 7, John.
Yeah, I've actually gone with an 8. I thought it was quite a balanced performance from McGeady this week. Like you say, excellent going forward. But I thought he did actually the dirty stuff quite well. He was sort of protecting McFadden back there, and instead of trying to take on 2 or 3 players and do the tricks and flicks back there, he just played it simple and played it off to his man, and it probably brought the confidence in McFadden out a little bit with him, just giving him the ball back every time, as opposed to weeks gone by, he sort of turned away from him a little bit for obvious reasons. He just knew when to pass. And knew when to take players on. So yeah, like I say, he made one bit of magic. He, creates a sequence of events that lead up to the goal. And yeah, it was very impressive.
Yep. Jack, for you?
Yeah, a 7. Probably a little bit harsh actually, because his directness, his crossing, the way he cut in and was shooting and trying to get his shots away, and just the fact that he can always create something out of nothing, just to all teams in this league, it just creates that sort of that threat whenever he's on the pitch, whenever he does try anything, that's always there. And I feel like last night was no real different. I didn't feel like it was his best performance for us without a doubt this season. I feel like that sort of goes without saying, but at the same time, I thought he was really solid. I thought it was just a really sort of good performance from a winger, and the sort of thing we want to see from him when he's not getting a goal or an assist. Still that directness and still that ability to do something, like even if you're not directly contributing towards a goal. So yeah, I've gone up with a 7.
Yeah. Aiden O'Brien obviously started alongside Charlie White up front, and originally I had him down for 5. I'll say 6, just because I don't really want to put anyone down at 5 after the win. But again, going back to the stats, as I've enjoyed doing that tonight. But the surprising thing I think was he touched the ball 26 times in the game. I'm not sure how long he was on the pitch. I don't know if he actually went off as a sub. I'm not sure if either of you know that one.
Yeah, he did go off. About 55 minutes, I think he went off.
It was with about half an hour left, wasn't it? Yeah. It wasn't long into the half.
But he didn't have a shot all game. Didn't put a single. I think he put 1 cross into the box. I think he won 1 of his 11 battles defensively. But he worked hard, and I think that's especially what he brings to the team. He'll work hard. He'll chase balls down, and he held the ball up well at times. You'd possibly like to see a bit more from a second striker. Obviously, he didn't create much. He didn't, like I say, he didn't have a shot on target. Didn't have a shot all game. But again, 2-0 win against Portsmouth. Didn't ever look like conceding a goal, so I can't really give him a 5. So I think a 6. John?
Yeah, I've gone for 6 as well. He didn't really do a lot. He did hold the ball up a couple of times, but if he's playing up there, quite high with Wyke, you still expect some sort of, sort of product, in and around the goal, but that wasn't there. And his pressing was okay, but he's, it's just a 6. I think he was up there more to maybe just help Wyke and give their defenders something else to think about. But yes, it's 6 for me.
Yeah, and Jack, for you?
Yeah, I went with a 6 as well. There wasn't really any sort of like moments like we sort of speak of with McGeady and things like that. There wasn't really any sort of moments where O'Brien looked especially threatening, like he was really going to make an impact. Despite that, though, I thought he did link up well with our other attacking players, and I did feel like, he did what he always does in, his work rate was excellent as well. But apart from that, there wasn't any huge positives for him, so I've gone for a 6.
Yep. And Charlie Wyke was the last in the starting 11, who I've given a 7. Obviously, held the ball up very well. It was a great header for his goal, and I still remember that foul that was given against him in the second half, which I think even the Sky commentators were baffled about. It just was never a foul, to put it straight. But again, looking at the stats, he won 12 of his 16 aerial battles, which, given the size of the Portsmouth defence and especially the centre halves, is impressive. There was a lot of long balls up to him, and a lot of the pressure was on him to hold the ball, keep the ball, and then play it out wide to McGeady or to Jones. He did that well throughout, and like I say, had one chance and scored it. So I can't complain with that. So give him a 7, John.
I've gone for an 8. I thought he was very good at chasing their back whatever it was they were playing, especially in the last sort of 25 minutes as well, doing that. Like you say, a quality finish, pressed very well, looks absolutely class, and on top of his game at the moment. And yeah, I've given it. I was quite impressed, especially it might be the Wembley thing on the horizon. Putting that extra bit of effort in, but you could forgive him for sort of standing around, for 60 minutes just waiting for a chance. But yeah, I thought he did really well with the press, and that's where it starts with teams wanting to play out. That's where it starts, in terms of keeping clean sheets and stopping the attacks before they even get near the defence. So yeah, I thought it was very good. I've gone with an 8.
Yeah, and Jack, for you?
Yeah, I went with an 8 as well. Just his hold up, his entire game, even without the goal, was just, I thought it was fantastic last night. And the way that when, earlier on in the season, we'd have been forgiven for saying, when he doesn't score, he doesn't look great or he doesn't look good. But I feel like in the last sort of few games, he's really shown us that, despite the fact he has been scoring in them, even the ones he sort of hasn't been scoring in, he's contributed a lot in those games, weirdly, even if he hasn't had, say, a goal or an assist in them. So yeah, obviously, to touch on the header as well, as soon as it left his head, I think I was pretty much off my sofa knowing it had gone in. It was just, to give him a free header in the box is absolutely criminal with his record. I'm sure Kenny Jackett will be absolutely fuming at that. But
I'm sure we will.
You can just imagine on the training pitch all week, right? At corners, they might have said, Raggett, you're on Wyke. Don't let him go. Don't give him a free header. Challenge him for everything. And he's literally first 15 minutes of a game, free header 1-0. It's like it's absolutely criminal. But
I think his bandage got in his eyes.
Yeah, maybe it did. Maybe he was counting the amount of teeth he'd lost. But yeah, something along the lines of that. But yeah, you still got to put it away, and it was a great header, absolute bullet. Get him in the Euros. Yeah.
And very quickly, the second to last thing. Just need one word or 2 words, depending on how you want to say the name. Man of the match, John. Start with you.
Jordan Jones, excellent.
That was 4 words.
Sorry.
Jack, for you.
Jordan Jones.
There we go. 2 I went with as well. Our next game is, of course, Tranmere in the Patrick Johns Trophy final on Sunday. Wembley record isn't great. Don't know when the last time we won at Wembley is. It was a long time ago. But empty stadium, playing against League 2 side, in great form. No fans are there, so as people say, it will be the most stunning thing ever to win that. Predictions for that one, John?
I'm going to go 3-0 to us.
Of course, there's a benefit of James Vaughan not playing as well, so at least he can't score against us. But Jack, for you?
I'm going to go 4-0, I reckon.
4-0. Jesus, we're ambitious, aren't we? I'll go with a 2-1. 2-1.
Oh, don't let him score.
I was gonna, if James Vaughan was playing, I was gonna predict him to score. Just thought he'd get in amongst it, but I'm quite confident now.
He wouldn't score. He just tried to attempt an overhead kick. That's all. He has to do one of them again.
He'd still cup his ears at Wembley, wouldn't he?
Oh yeah, he's the sort of bloke to do
in an
that.
empty stadium. Do what John Joe Shelby did that. I remember for Newcastle in the cup. I don't know who they were playing. It was some League One, or League Two.
Oh, it was like Newport, wasn't it, or something like that?
I think he scored a last-minute equaliser. He went round cupping his ears to the stadium. It was hard.
Yeah, it was an interesting one, that way.
It was. But that is all we have time for, John and Jack. Appreciate you coming on.
Cheers,
Thanks for having me.
We will be back on Friday, hopefully, with another special interview with someone who spent time at the club only a few years ago, so keep an eye out for that one. But of course, we will be back at some point on Monday, if not, to talk about the Wembley final, the Papa John's Trophy final, and hopefully our first win at Wembley in a long time. But until then, we will see you later.
That's all, folks.